episode 141, Writing Faster. But let's get into 141 first. Is it a prime number? No, it's not, because you add 1 plus 4 plus 1, you get 6. 6 is divisible by 3, not a prime. This tidbit is brought to you by Math Shortcuts. In order to write faster, you need to know what the hell you're going to write. And this takes focused thinking. And I want to talk about self-discipline. You have to, when you sit and think about your story, you have to focus and think about your story. Don't squirrel, don't do other things. Focus on the story, build that scene in your mind. The great Elmore Leonard said, enter late and leave early, when he was talking about writing a scene. Let's talk about a Western, a saloon. You have the doors, you have a spittoon, you have bar stools, you have people leaning on the bar, you have a bartender, you have a mirror, you have, stop it. You don't need all that stuff unless it's relative to the plot. Enter late, you come in, what's going on? This is where it's easier to write, because if you're just describing a saloon in 2,000 words, oh my God, that's boring. No wonder you can't write that fast. Just, okay, there's a bartender. Hey, there's a guy down at the end of the bar. He's doing nothing. He's not important to the scene, but there he is anyway. Stop it. Write fast. You're writing the scene. You're writing the action. You're writing what's going on. And these are the pearls of wisdom within your book that you're going to string together to make your story. So enter late. That's when the cowboy enters the bar and something's going on. He sees something, catches his eye. He watches something else. I better keep an eye on that. I need to go talk to this guy. I need to make something happen. And then you do it. Write that scene. And as you're going through that scene, you'll find the scene is easy and easier to write because of the action. Stuff's going on. Stuff's happening. You need to capture it. You can go back through later and add in, he kicked the spittoon as he walked past, especially if you're looking for era, something to match it to that era. An old Winchester, things that you don't have to say, this was 1895. No, just you can allude to that within the scene and people will get it. So either a pantser or a plotter, you still need to know what's going on next. And this is where, when you sit down to write, if you're sitting there and looking at a blank paper and your mind is blank, you're not going to write fast. You need to know what's going to happen. So that's go back to step one. Know what's going to happen. Get down there and write it. You can always write a transition between scenes later, and you may need to, just because you missed it. You're moving forward. You thought you wrote a transition, but your beta readers look at it and say, geez, this jumps pretty fast. Okay, hey, let me write that down. You can do that later. Don't get quagmired in making everything flow perfectly from the start. This is how you write fast. And as you write more and more, it's going to be better and better for that flow, natural flow for a reader, without having to go back and edit, rewrite. What a waste of time. This is how you write fast. Write better. The string of pearls, you get the setup, the transition, the action, and the conclusion. You have conflict and resolution, and then setting up the next scene. This is how it works. This is how, think about how they film movies. Even watch an editorial on how they film a movie. And okay, I can do this with my book, because you're doing the same thing. You are the director of your movie. And it's a movie that you're going to paint into the reader's minds. So you don't have to spend a lot of time writing about various things. You just have to create the conditions by which the reader can then imagine what that looks like. When you're in a scene and you're talking about conflict and resolution, even discovery writers have to have an idea about what they're doing, about what's going to happen. What are these character traits that are going to come into conflict before they resolve them in some way, or they go away mad, which is building up to a bigger thing. So conflict, not a resolution, more conflict, higher conflict, higher. Understand those scenes. This is how you write faster, because you know what's going on and you're just dictating, and you become your own secretary, and that you're jamming the words, or you're narrating them, you're dictating them using all of the various devices out there for that. Is still, you have to know the scene. This is how you write fast. So I don't know how I can harp on that more, because and getting the words, what is fast? If you write every single day, you write 3,000 words a day, that's 21,000 words a week, but it's over 1 million words in a year, if you can do the math. 1 million words in a year is a lot of books. Do you need 3,000 words a day? Probably not. So writing fast, people say I write fast. I write like 2,500 words a day. But every single day, 5 years running, I've been averaging 2,500 words a day. That comes out to a lot of words. If you want to have 10,000 word days, you're going to really stress yourself out until you really are practiced at that. That is the hardest thing to do. Consistency, lower numbers that you can justify, that you can build into your daily schedule. That each day is how you write faster. And if you only have a limited amount of time, then when you aren't writing, you have to be thinking about that scene. So all you have to do is you're just jamming it in real fast. And then you can get 1,000, 1,500 words in 30 minutes. That adds up really fast when you can do it that way. That's how you write fast. More typing, less staring. I'm not kidding. Get to the scene and write it. Stop goofing around. Focus. That's how you get the stories written. Facebook isn't your friend in this regard when you're writing a book. You need to just write the book. It's just you and being your own secretary, typing those words in. All right, everybody. Hopefully that helped. Probably not, but anyway, good luck. Get those words.